I mentioned last week the importance of finding ways, both small and large, to return to ourselves, feeling that this is our best hope for finding solid ground upon which to stand in these most tumultuous times. I also mentioned consideration of a concept that was new to me, the idea of a theology of subtraction. I've continued to ponder both of those ideas this week, and I'll expound upon them a little bit more today. The election. It's less than 2 weeks away, and we can scarcely think of anything else. But by way of returning to oneself, I offer the following observation. Each morning, I ask the creepy little echo dot on my kitchen counter to play for me the NPR update. It does so. And Ellie and I usually stand together buttering toast as the voice comes over the electronic device. This past Tuesday, we were side by side, listening to the news report and preparing breakfast. And after all the goings-on about early voting and the mounting anxiety about November 3rd, Alice Jane pointed something out that I had thought about but had not yet given words to. She said, as long as we are waiting for the election to happen, there is still the possibility that things will get better. Once the election happens, the results will be the results, no longer possibilities. This brought to mind the Emily Dickinson poem, I Dwell in Possibility. A fairer house than prose, more numerous of windows, superior of doors, of chambers as the cedars, impregnable of eye, and for an everlasting roof, the brambles of the sky. Of visitors the fairest, for occupation this, the spreading wide my narrow hands to gather paradise. I dwell in possibility. To dwell in possibility is to choose to live leaning into hope. This is risky, for sure. We risk being terribly disappointed. But what if, instead of allowing our thoughts to be overtaken by anxiety or anticipating the moment when all of this will be over, we pause to dwell in the possibility that this moment affords. Remember, beloved, who we are now is who we will be November 4th. An election does not fundamentally change who we are as people, especially as people of faith. The worst thing we can let happen, should this election not turn out the way we might hope it would, is to allow anyone else the power to determine who we are. Parker Palmer, in his book, A Hidden Wholeness, writes, as soon as we succumb to someone else's definition of who we are, we lose our sense of true self and our right relationship to the world. It makes no difference whether those projections make us a hero or a goat. When we allow others to name us, we lose touch with our own truth, our capacity to co-create in life-giving ways with the other. Now I'm going to make a shift, and you may not have seen this one coming. We're going to spend a few moments considering the legacy of actor, producer, and martial artist Bruce Lee. In a recent article written for brainpickings.org, Maria Popova gave homage to Lee's lesser-known legacy as a philosopher, who was instrumental in introducing Eastern traditions to Western audiences. As I read this article, it struck me that what Lee was doing was giving voice and particular insight to this concept of a theology of subtraction. Remember, we came to that concept last week in the leaves that have color in them all the time, but as the sun begins to wane and the green begins to fade, those colors emerge. A theology of subtraction, recognizing something that's been there all along by removing the obstacles in its path. Bruce Lee was a master of removing blockage to regain flow. He was inspired by the core principles of Wing Chun, an ancient Chinese conceptual martial art. When he left Hong Kong in 1959, he adapted Wing Chun to his own understanding and renamed it Zhen Fang Gong Shu. Literal translation, Bruce Lee's Kung Fu. Then he popularized it in America. He came to his greatest understanding, and maybe this is where I really resonated with him. He came to his greatest understanding after a prolonged period of difficulty. His teacher, Yip Man, had been trying and trying to teach him the art of detachment, and he just couldn't get it. Lee wrote, "When my acute self-consciousness grew to what the psychologists refer to as the double bind type, my instructor would again approach me and say, 'Lee, preserve yourself by following the natural bends of things. Don't interfere. Remember, never assert yourself against nature. Never be in frontal opposition to any problems, but control them by swinging with them.'" Then his teacher sent him home to think about it. And after spending many hours meditating and practicing, Lee gave up and went sailing alone in a small boat. On the sea, I thought of all my past training, and I got so angry at myself that I punched the water. Right then, at that moment, a thought suddenly struck me. Was not this water the very essence of Kung Fu? Hadn't this water just now illustrated to me the principle of Kung Fu? I had struck it, but it did not suffer hurt. Again, I struck it with all my might, yet it was not wounded. Then I tried to grasp a handful of it, but this proved impossible. This water, the softest substance in the world, which could be contained in the smallest jar, only seemed weak. It only seemed weak. In reality, it could penetrate the hardest substance in the world. That was it. I wanted to be like the nature of water. Lee's concept stemmed from Lao Tzu's teaching in the Tao Te Ching. Nothing is weaker than water. But when it attacks something hard or resistant, nothing can withstand it, and nothing will alter its way. Here are a few other of Lee's insights that might help us along the way, especially in these next 10 days. Positive thought. Realizing that emotions are both positive and negative form daily habits, says Lee, which will encourage the development of positive emotions and aid us in converting the negative emotion into some form of useful action. imagination, recognizing the need for sound, plans, and ideas for the attainment of our desires. Develop your imagination by calling upon it daily in the formation of your plans. Use your imagination. Cultivate positive thought. Bruce Lee died at the young age of 32 from a brain aneurysm, which made him a bit of a cult icon. But in his young life, he coined these insightful phrases. You will never get any more out of life than you expect. Keep your mind on the things you want and off the things you don't. Sounds simple, not so much. Things live by moving and gain strength as they go. Amen? And see that there is no one to fight, only an illusion to see through. A theology of subtraction doesn't mean giving up the things that bring us comfort. A theology of subtraction means paring down our needs to their most essential nature. What do we need to survive this moment spiritually? That's the question. What this pandemic has taught us so far is that the ability to scale down is key to our spiritual survival, something we can keep working on like an artist, honing their craft. These are the words to ponder for today. Will you join me in prayer? Bless the work that awaits us, Holy One. Anoint our hands and hearts and voices as we joyfully enter the heart of this moment. Make our spirits lucid, attentive, and open to the call of what can be. Breathe in us the strength to make this holy pilgrimage through the days leading up to the election. Deepen in us our potential for endurance, for stability, and for spiritual longevity. Breathe on us, breath of God, that we might forever trust in a reality that is just beyond our own visions of possibility. Amen.